Today, I would like the opportunity to speak to you about what we call the cycle of life. It's very important to note that it's a cycle, but we rarely notice this when thinking about our own individual life because we are focused on the life we are living and how it makes us feel, instead of noticing the predictable cycle that we're involved in. We have no problem observing the life cycle of other animals because there is a detachment there. Take, for example, a fly. We can watch them be born, reproduce, and then die, all within a relatively short period of time. But thinking about our own life, it doesn't really seem like we're involved in an intricate cycle that has been going on for thousands or millions of years, does it? But we are. I think the problem we have is that you need to look at something from a third-person detached perspective to understand what it is. But when it comes to our own lives, we are so locked into the first-person perspective it can be hard to gain insight. So instead of talking about humans, I want to help you detach and look at the human life cycle from a third-person unbiased perspective, so I'm going to give you a metaphor. In this metaphor, which I call the metaphor of life, I want you to imagine a small animatronic robot. Now we know that for people to reproduce you need a male and female to come together and procreate, but for the metaphor, this is not necessary. Let's just imagine that our robot can build other robots and its internal programming directs it to do just that. So basically you start off with one robot and it has two objectives in life. One is obtaining fuel, and we'll just pretend that it consumes plants and animals like we do. Its second objective is building other robots. It's no coincidence that just like us, its body is designed for only those two tasks and nothing else. Now you have a nice cycle that is going to take place. Let's say the robot is capable of building two other robots in its lifetime before its parts become damaged and the robot dies. So our robot will make two robots, then die. Now you have two robots that will make four and then die. Four that will make 8, then die. So now you see that these robots are multiplying and surviving. But for what purpose? What is the reason that the cycle was created? And also, why is it being perpetuated? I know that people try to give meaning to their life, but your life is part of a greater cycle, so instead you should try to give meaning to the cycle. Why do those robots continue to perpetuate the cycle? Don't they look silly consuming fuel just so they can live long enough to build another robot that will do the exact same thing? Is there no reason for their existence? Now we are more advanced than the robots, but aren't we basically doing the same thing? Why are we perpetuating a cycle that causes massive amounts of suffering to those involved in it when we don't even understand what the purpose for the cycle is? The problem is that we are too intricately involved in the cycle to see it from a third-person detached perspective. Like a man who is stuck in a maze, he can only see the walls towering over him. If he could only zoom his perspective out, he would see that he was in a maze, and he would see how to get out of it. He might even see who built the maze and be able to figure out why he was placed into the maze to begin with. Recently, I have gone around asking people what they believe the purpose of life is. What that question is actually asking is, what is the purpose for this life cycle we are trapped in? The overwhelmingly most common answer I receive is that the pursuit of happiness and taking care of family is the reason for living. I believe this is what the majority of people on the planet have dedicated their life to, though I admit there were some fanatics that believed their purpose for living was doing the will of their God. Basically, it boiled down to having fun whenever possible and taking care of loved ones. I would like to appeal to your logical and rational mind for a minute as I attempt to prove definitively that the purpose for this life cycle is not the pursuit of happiness, nor is it taking care of family. Actually, I think people already know on a deeper level that having fun is not the purpose of life. What I think they do is they try to make that their goal to minimize the suffering and pain they feel throughout their life. They do this as some sort of coping mechanism. Since the cycle we are trapped in forces all the living beings within it to constantly have to steal energy from one another to survive, that is proof that the purpose for this cycle can't possibly be having fun. Otherwise, you wouldn't be living in a predatory and parasitic world where suffering and pain is rampant. Killing something and eating it causes it stress and pain, and since you must do this to survive, the truth is that experiencing suffering and pain is a built-in part of the cycle, and that directly goes against and contradicts the belief that the purpose of life could be the pursuit of happiness. Next is the idea that the purpose of life is taking care of family. I agree that taking care of family is crucial, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the purpose of the life cycle we are trapped in. Taking care of family is a means of survival, so it has to do with the perpetuation of the cycle. Taking care of family is a survival instinct that many animals have, but it should never be confused as being the purpose for the cycle itself. Remember the robots? When they build new robots, that is not the purpose of the cycle they are trapped in. That is merely how the cycle gets perpetuated. Survival is the perpetuation of the cycle. The way the cycle is perpetuated can't be the purpose for why the cycle was created. So the question then becomes, if the purpose for life is not pursuing happiness or reproducing and taking care of family, which leads to survival, what then is the purpose for the life cycle? This is the hard question I've been asking myself for years, and I don't claim to have all the answers for you. I'm trapped in the maze just like you are, but I want to escape it. This life cycle is like one of those photos that looks like one thing when you're zoomed in, but it's something completely different once you zoom out. We are energetic, multi-dimensional beings, and I believe the purpose for this life cycle that we are trapped in has something to do with energy. Is our energy or prana being stolen from us as part of another entity's life cycle? Is our energy being stolen from us as part of another entity's life cycle?